Welcome to the Compass Audiocast. I'm your host, Hawa Kambian. Prepare to revisit the compassionate wisdom many of us heard in our youth so that we can mindfully apply it to reimagine a future of work that we can all shape for the better. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. So happy to have you here joining me today as we get into our latest episode of the Compass Audiocast. So today's quote is, "If you want to make the world different, you can't be indifferent." So as a child, this sort of meant to me that, I've got to shake up the energy and do things differently and thoughtfully if I want better results in life. Right? And that could be anything from changing my attitude to being more open to sharing with other people or being kind to new people, places, things that I encounter. What it meant when I started working, and this is what's interesting because at work, there's such an intricate and delicate balance at play that keeps everyone in their current state and their current level within the organization. And this particular quote is fascinating when you put it in the context of the development sector, social impact, or the social tech sector. Because while many of the players here stake their reputations on being different and innovative to their donors, investors, and to the public, it can sometimes be a far cry from that same willingness to make positive changes on the back ends of their organizations with their people. So my story today is a seed of an experience, but it speaks to how situations can blossom out of control and beyond intent if left unchecked. So as many of us have, I was in an organization that was going through a restructure, which is quite standard. However, in this one, we were told that we could raise our hands to be in new departments within the organization. And if we had the right skill set, then that could end up as our new role. So to be very clear, for example, let's say I wanted to move from being on the product team to being in marketing, right? So if indeed I was a great product manager who had solid marketing experience, then great, that would be possible. However, if I wanted to move from being on the product team to being in finance and I didn't know basic financial accounting terms like a cash flow projection, well, then it probably wasn't going to swing in my favor. So all this to say, I put my hat in the ring to move to a new team. All was well, the team came into formation, and we were ready to go, right? Wrong. So I'm in this new team, and the org has restructured and re-strategized all the things. And so there are a mix of old and new projects on deck that need to be sorted. And the old stuff can't be abandoned, but the new stuff is also super urgent, right? So at the time that this team formed, although I myself was new to the organization, I was probably one of the most senior people on the team in terms of my overall work experience. And so what ended up happening, and I will caveat that I'm speaking from my perception, right? But the experience that I had was that it seemed that for every project that this new team was being gifted, it was being placed comfortably and snugly in my lap. So truth be told, there were about 4 of us on this new team, right? So it was very bizarre that the projects were being organized in such a way. And for a while, I was in meeting after meeting being onboarded onto all of these new projects that I was given to manage alone, and it wasn't clear what the rest of the team was doing collectively, right? So culturally, honestly, this kind of sucked because I was already in the midst of change that I'd been sold on as being better and an improvement. I was empowered to migrate into roles that and by extension of selecting me, other leaders believed I would be good for. And then there was this unclear and conflicting information about the team's ways of working now that we were living day to day in the new structure. And so all of that rolled together was not super motivating, right? And why was this a problem? Because ultimately, I wanted to be excited about the team I had chosen and that had chosen me. Mostly, I wanted to feel supported and confident that leadership had a plan for running the team that took balance and sustainability into account, instead of potentially the thought, who can do this and get it done as quickly as possible? Which doesn't really work if the person you identify is the person to whom you assign everything. I had very real concerns about workload, right? I mean, there's already a learning curve when you join a new organization, let alone when your role is shifting early on. Also, it brings up questions about the healthy distribution of projects across the team, right? Or what clear communication around authority and delegation looks like within the team by other team members. Because we all know it can be a slippery slope when team members start assigning work to each other with no context, structure, agreement, or accountability in place. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe so that these messages can reach and support professionals and leaders as they make healthy and aligned cultures possible. All right, y'all. So, real talk on the challenges of navigating situations like this. In my most negative state, I felt so disappointed while also feeling like expectations were piling high on me and I was being set up to disappoint other people. And let's be honest, that's not uncommon, right? The previous statement I just made probably exactly describes what my leader was feeling from their leader, and so on and so forth up the hierarchy. And we can absolutely have compassion for that. However, the indifference to addressing it at higher levels up the chain is the issue, right? Because then it eventually does trickle down to those on the front line who have way more limits to the extent to which we can advocate and for which we can put change into effect. The ideal situation would have looked a little bit different, especially after an organizational restructure, which again, leadership usually has some lead time on knowing that a reorg and a restructure is coming through, right? And so a few of the things that I was personally excited to experience and hoping to experience more was, one, the reliability and follow through of what had originally been pitched to staff about how this reorg would work. Number two, the support from leaders around healthy communication and empathy to develop and set practical ways of working in our new model. It felt contradictory that in the context of a reorg, there was a willingness to give me a higher workload, but not acknowledge it relative to the rest of the team and workload planning. And then there was a willingness to ask me to pull on the resources of the rest of the team without actual clarity in the roles that we serve and the ways that we are meant to interact with each other in order for things to move forward successfully. Sticking around for a reorg is really a sign of trust in an organization and the way that they choose to lean into the integrity of what they've outlined. All of that is very telling. We would probably rarely have this conversation about client or customer facing aspects because of the reputational and financial implications of not doing what you say you're going to do as a business. And so why is this important in the bigger picture of the work experience. Truly, reorgs tend to be retention nightmares for organizations because given the lack of operational planning and cultural alignment that many people tend to experience during a reorg, many people already decide that it's not worth sticking around and waiting for the kinks to be sorted out. So while I genuinely don't believe that with my story there was any malicious intent, there was certainly an indifference to what the realities and challenges of a reorg were across the organization at all levels, right? I mean, if directors didn't feel clear enough about scope, then that meant they couldn't communicate clearly to managers, who then couldn't assign work effectively to teams. That is a systems and organizational communication issue. And that's the thing, right? An unintentional oversight is one thing. However, the second an awareness clicks in that there's a problem, any inaction is indifference. Just like a company might not know that their toy for children poses a choking hazard, the minute a concerned parent lets you know and you continue to treat it like it's not important, you've made a choice. And that choice will have a ripple effect on your business and reputation. This is why cementing change in a context of healthy cultural standards, ways of working, and support systems is not just nice to have. It's essential if you want your change to be anything of meaning that your organization can sustain culturally and operationally. So leaders, use your seat and your position to listen, respond, and problem solve instead of sitting in the anxiety and stress of indifference, because it may cost you much more down the line. Because think of it this way, at the end of the day, if a reorg tends to cause high turnover or lots of staff leaving, you still have to go back to the drawing board of your employer branding and recruitment to find new people. And those new people will still need to be sold on the reliability of your company within their first 90 days in order to become longer-term hires who are actually contributing and adding value to the organization. So the cycle will always exist in terms of investing effectively and appropriately in people, right? The question is, are you doing it with new people who have limited loyalty and investment in your organization? Or are you growing and developing with people who have already seen and contributed to the organization's adaptation over time? The choice is yours, friend. All right, so how can we reframe when a culture of indifference seems to be the point of neutrality within an organization? First, pay attention to discomfort. Leaders, this goes twofold. Pay attention to when you feel like something is off, unclear, or uncertain, and have the courage, or the leadership, to speak up and express this. This does not have to be aggressive or public. However, take on the integrity of the role you're in and be willing to find answers and clarity that will ultimately enable you to do your job better and to support your team. Right? So also pay attention to when your team is willing to express their discomfort to you. This is an opportunity to notice when you've had similar thoughts or emotions based on your different perspectives and vantage points in the organization. It's also helpful in recognizing when your team is bringing information to your attention that may not really affect or influence your day-to-day based on your leadership position, but that might be undermining the team's morale and energy to keep moving forward. This data is a gift. You can do something with it or remain indifferent. Second, meet needs. Knowledge is power. So once you are aware of what isn't working or what is causing confusion amongst the team, take some time to understand what people really need, their bottom line. Is it clarity on a role? Is it a more balanced workload? Is it to know who their new collaborators are across the organization? Take stock of some of the tangibles that, if better clearly defined, would enable people to continue this walk of faith through change with you. Again, this goes for dynamics at your level as well. Maybe as a leader, you're stressed because you have unclear budget or headcount allocation for a team that is expected to do a lot. Advocate for this clarity so that you can continue to lead at your best. Third, be collaborative. We've all heard the sayings about, bringing solutions and not problems to the table, which is great. At the same time, in stressful situations, some leaders are in a rush to have some answer rather than to formulate an answer that is practical and addresses the change curve of the team. So be willing to sit down and hear out recommendations on how the team thinks a situation could be approached. Sure, not every answer will be gold. However, there will always be nuggets of great ideas that can be combined and which allow everyone to feel more included and respected in shaping their work experience. Is your organization struggling with challenging dynamics that hinder collaboration and sustainability? At HKC, we support you to align your team to organizational values so that you can achieve a balanced and enriching environment that allows you to focus on growth. Visit our website for more. It is truly amazing when you see teams, not individuals, but teams, who are willing to go above and beyond in an organization from a place of support and empowerment, and not from a place of fear for their job security or low self-worth. This is the game change, especially if your mission is to change the world. We've got to start from the inside out and ensure that the same empathy and good vibes and opportunities being extended outside of the organization is the minimum that is occurring inside its proverbial walls or digital streets. I am all about healthy and functional systems, and people are a massive component of how systems become useful and generate value. Culture isn't just a box to tick off on social impact surveys or industry reports. It's the foundation that actually can enable your organization to breeze through change based on healthy communication, collaboration, and trust. And as a leader, you can't put a price on that. Thanks for tuning in to the Compass Audiocast, where we bridge past, present, and positive for the future of work. Please like this post if you found it useful, share it with someone who may need to hear it, and subscribe if you want to be notified when our next one comes out. Let's work together on your professional well-being or your organizational culture for more positivity, sustainability, and collaboration for the future of work. Leave me a comment to share how you have made a positive difference to your workplace or how your workplace has made a positive difference to you. Thanks, and I'll see you on the next one.